Hello there guys and welcome, it's Niran here and today it is time for episode 9 of our Williams Road to Recovery. As you can see, I'm just stepping into my Williams here at this sunny Nurburgring track and yeah, it's going to be an interesting race. Obviously last time out we came 7th, I do believe, in Britain. We're heading into the depths now of the Europeans section of the season, then we'll be moving on into Asia. As you can see, I will be stopping on lap 7 to swap my option tyres over to the slower prime compound, but now it is time for the qualifying report. At a cloudy Nurburgring, Lewis Hamilton would set the early pace on prime tyres in front of Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso. McLaren struggled for pace while both Williamses and Toro Rossos made it through comfortably. Esteban Gutierrez and Adrian Sutil were eliminated in Q1 however. Q2 went pretty much to form, with Hamilton fastest from Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen. Fernando Alonso snuck through with his final lap of the session to deny Hulkenberg a Q3 slot, while we lost both Williamses, Toro Rossos and Paul di Resta. In a slight change-up to proceedings, Sebastian Vettel was the fastest in the most important quali session, from Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton in third. The other Mercedes of Nico Rosberg followed in fourth from Mark Webber in fifth, while there was disappointment for Lotus in sixth and ninth. So all of this means that Sebastian Vettel will be on pole for the German Grand Prix in front of Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton in third, Nico Rosberg fourth and Mark Webber in fifth. Raikkonen will start sixth in front of the Brazilian Felipe Massa, then Jenson Button in the McLaren will start eighth, in front of Romain Grosjean and the Mexican Sergio Perez in 10th. So they're not a bad qualifying. We'll be starting 12th on the grid, but that ends our run of, I think, 5 Grand Prix where we start in the top 10 and make it through to the Qualy shootout in every race. But 12th on the grid is not a horrible place to start, especially running down into turn 1. There's a lot of opportunity to make up quite a lot of positions going into this very sharp hairpin down the hill at turn 1, but it is Sebastian Vettel on pole, as per usual. I think Fernando Alonso will be starting second. Here we are in 12th, just in front of one of those Toro Rossos with Pastor Maldonado starting way down the order in 16th. It'll take another miracle to get him up into the points, I think it's fair to say, in this Grand Prix, but we'll see how he does later on in the season. 3 lights are now on, 4 now on, 5 lights now on, and they are now off with Sergio Perez in front of us and Hulkenberg to the left. It's a relatively decent getaway. We're going to be using curves. We've got Force Indy, though, bearing down on us from behind, and Hulkenberg getting a great acceleration and run down into turn 1. We've got the inside of him, Grosjean, as well on the outside, as well as Webber, and a bit of contact there between Massa and I think Sebastian Vettel in front. Perez now on the outside. We've gone round the outside of Webber, now up the inside even of Sergio Perez. We've somehow found ourselves in 8th, and now Massa going slowly through his left-hand turn. We've made up 5 positions there as we run into the back of a really slow Kimi Raikkonen through there. We've gone past Perez, we've gone past Massa, Hulkenberg, Webber and Romain Grosjean through 3 corners. Now we're absolutely all over the back of Kimi Raikkonen here in the second, well, the first of the Lotuses technically, but the second that we've encountered so far in this race. I was about to say lap and then combined it with race. Technically both are true, but we'll stick with race here. This 15-lap race here in the Nurburgring on 25% distance. Any longer and it gets a little bit long, these videos. But now behind us, Felipe Massa just about holding off. Again, I had a different name in my head, this time Felipe Nasr, who's not even a Formula 1 driver, but still, in front of us now, Kimi Raikkonen. No mistakes made by the AI. They sometimes do make mistakes in this corner, but we make it through cleanly as well. A bit of dust being kicked up by both Perez and Raikkonen in front, using the rest of the curves down the straight just to defend from Felipe Massa and maybe see if we can gain on Kimi Raikkonen, which we are doing quite quickly, and down into the chicane. No defence put up, and we lunge up the inside, one of the biggest lunges in all history. And we've lunged up the inside completely at Kimi Raikkonen, and now we're up into 6th place. And what a start that is. 6 places in 1 lap we've gained right there, 5 of which being in the first 3 corners. It's actually Fernando Alonso who leads this one. Obviously Vettel being on the outside, with the AI being so cautious, that's lost him quite a lot of time, with Alonso being on the inside. And actually a bit of contact there in front between Jenson Button and Sebastian Vettel. I think he was trying to get up the inside of one of the Mercedes, and I guess that's Nico Rosberg in 4th place, most likely. But yeah, 6th place behind Jenson Button, who's also got a great start there in the first of the McLaren. It's not bad as well for Perez down in 9th place, so it's not looking too bad for McLaren, but for us, we're in 6th place. Obviously, Pastor Maldonado will be way down the order. Looking at the mini-map, just about see his yellow dot. I'd say he's probably about 16th, 17th still on this second lap of 15 here. Not a huge amount of tyre wear. These tyres should really lasts the distance here in Germany. It's not overly destructive in terms of the tyre compounds, I don't believe. Actually, it does look as if Maldonado may have gained a few positions, or at least stayed status quo from where he started on the grid. But Kimi Räikkönen is bearing down on us in this middle sector there as Sebastian Vettel yet again tries to get past one of the Mercedes, and Perez, I keep getting mixed up. Jenson Button goes wide. We're now absolutely all over the back of him with the OP slipstream and a bit of curse. In front, Vettel's alongside one of the Mercedes. We're going to try and go around the outside of Jenson Button here through that kink and out the inside into the chicane. We should have this move stuck, and we do, and we're now up into 5th place, just edging out to the edge of the chicane. That was probably a bit more of a cut-off than it should have been. Behind as well, I think Romain Grosjean getting in front of Sergio Perez. But now, after 2 laps, we've gone from 12th to 5th, and what a gain in positions this is. This is awesome. Now, DRS is enabled going on to this 3rd lap. Of course, the stewards can enable that with it being a dry race and all those shenanigans. And in front, the 2 Mercedes now battling with each other, Rosberg and Hamilton. And we're actually with Sebastian Vettel in a Williams. Now, a few years ago, well, I was about to say a few years ago, being about 10 years ago, that wouldn't be much of a surprise. But obviously, Sebastian Vettel wasn't in Formula 1 10 years ago. But up at the front is what I meant as a Williams. But in the circumstances of it being 2013, that is quite an achievement up in 5th place, with on the verge of being able to get past Sebastian. Well, I say on the verge of getting past. We're relatively close. We're in contact with Sebastian Vettel. Only about 0.8 of a second, I think it says there at the top of the screen. And 1.2 seconds out of Jenson Button. We were relatively slow through that last corner, so it's more likely to be about 1 second to each of those guys. But behind, even, Kimi Räikkönen still with Felipe Massa all over the back of him and all over the back of Jenson Button in front. We're probably going to have to defend quite hard from these guys going down this straight. It is a very long straight. Of course, there'll be DRS now on this lap too, as the 2 Mercedes get alongside each other. Sebastian Vettel now all over the back of one of those Mercedes here as we go through that sort of chicane. But look at this, Jenson Button with the assist of DRS. We're going to have to use all our curves and all our defensive ability. Jenson Button just pushes us out wide there. A bit of contact. It's a good job this isn't real Formula 1, though, else that would have been catastrophic. Cataclysmic in a straight line, but we do manage to hold on in front of Jenson Button, trip ourselves over in the process, and now Kimi Räikkönen and Felipe Massa are all over the back of us as well. Gone a little bit wide there through the last corner, and again these guys, I think we'll have DRS. I'm pretty sure it's a double DRS zone. Yes, there is. Jenson Button bearing down on us again. We've got Kurz to use again. He's going to go around the outside as Lewis Hamilton sets the fastest lap of the race with a 1:35 something or other. We've stayed on the inside. We maintain that position, and we keep hold of 5th place in front of Jenson Button, Kimi Räikkönen and Felipe Massa behind. So we managed to hold on there, thankfully, from the McLaren, from the Lotus and the Ferrari behind. But it's not going to be too long until they do have a proper go at us, although Jenson Button was pretty much alongside and passed at one stage. I think Felipe Massa may just have got past Kimi Räikkönen there as well for 7th place behind. There's now a 3.2 second gap extended in front to Sebastian Vettel, so any more progress in this race looks slightly stunted. I know Kimi Räikkönen did manage to stay in front of Massa, but they did hold each other up and trip each other up, so they're no longer all over the back of Jenson Button. But that defensive work has meant that we have dropped quite a lot of time on the 4 guys in front as Fernando Alonso continues to dominate. We move now on, though, a lap forward onto lap 5, because, well, nothing happened on the last lap, but still we've got a little bit wide there, and now Jenson Button's going to have DRS again. In fact, I was saying earlier that the tyre wear shouldn't be too bad, but there is a decent amount of tyre wear going on. This time Jenson Button flicks to the inside, and yet again, more contact there with the front wing hitting my inside left front. Inside left, that made no sense. Front left is what I meant to say. My front left Pirelli, but still, I don't know why Jenson Button can't make a clean move against me, because it's not what he does. That's not how he functions in real life. Jenson Button's one of the cleanest guys you'll ever see. As Sebastian Vettel sets the fastest lap of the race, and the top 4 get a lot closer now. Alonso, in fact, actually, it's not even Alonso in the lead, it's Lewis Hamilton in the lead now. Rosberg now down to 4th, and cast adrift now from the top 3 in front, as Sebastian Vettel's now managed to get onto the podium. But behind, we're still managing to stunt the progress of Jenson Button, Kimi Räikkönen and Felipe Massa behind. A little bit of a trolley train developing, but there's a few gaps between them, so it's not cataclysmic in terms of the holding up that we're doing. Moving on, though, to the end of this lap, lap 6 of 15, and the tyre wear is awful. Absolutely dire. It's progressed horrifically on this lap, as now Kimi Räikkönen looks at Jenson Button up the inside. Will he be able to make the move stick? I don't know if he will, but we're deciding to pit on this lap because I've had enough of this nonsense. Going to go onto the prime tyre with pitting a lap earlier than we should have been, than we were predicted. But the tyre wears kicked in a little bit more than I was expecting, and we're going to have to pit on this one. It's not the end of the world, because obviously the prime tyre will last a lot longer, being the harder compound, and we're only pitting about halfway through this race, just under, so it shouldn't be too bad in terms of destroying our stint on the prime tyres. But it's a relatively good pit stop from the guys in the Williams pit lane, and it's a 3.1 second pit stop. Absolutely no one else, I think, pitted. The one thing that has gone against us, though, is the fact that we have pitted a lap later, which means we're probably not... we're a lot further down the order, and by that I mean down in 18th place, only just in front of Max Chilton, which is probably saying something realistically. But we are just behind the Sauber of Esteban Gutierrez and Pastor Maldonado in the fellow Williams, the sister Williams, down in 16th place, which is of course where he started. So no gain, but no loss, but more importantly no gain. So realistically, points are not on the cards for both of us, but certainly for myself, as long as I can avoid incident. But we're now going to try and hunt down Esteban Gutierrez and Pastor Maldonado and try, hopefully, with a bit of luck, to catch them in a situation where it doesn't hold me up a huge amount. Going into the chicane would be the most preferable region, but probably won't happen, knowing me. The luck that I get, and maybe just charge up the inside of both of them. You never know. But we've used half of our curves. We'll certainly be using the other half of that to try and progress and make the move on those two guys down into the chicane. We'll be expecting a lot of people to be pitting on the next lap. That's when people will be pitting, and then the other half of the AI to be pitting on the next lap. That tends to be how it works. One of them pitting on the 7th, one half of them pitting on the 7th even, and then the other half pitting on the 8th lap. We do have the assist of DRS, but so does Esteban Gutierrez. It doesn't even look as if we're going to make a move up the inside, but they hold each other up, and in fact, actually, no. We've just lunged. That was even bigger lunge than on Kimi Räikkönen early on in the race. We've taken two guys, slightly held up Pastor Maldonado. I apologise for that, Pastor, but he does come into the pit lane anyway, so it didn't really affect him too much. But Esteban Gutierrez stays out. Paul Di Resta coming into the pits in the Force India, and about 6 other cars there I can see in the pit lane. A few more probably charging down the pit lane now as well. Jenson Button in, and the undercut certainly works as we move on to standard mix. Mix 2. I don't know if we were actually on that already, but Jenson Button coming out even behind Esteban Gutierrez. So that's seriously worked from being all over the back of us before the pit stops. We've now got a huge gap. In front, Rosberg battling with someone behind, and Esteban Gutierrez thankfully holding up Jenson Button behind. But look at this, Rosberg's gone off there, right where Sergio Perez, I think it was, went off. No, sorry, Jenson Button. Why am I getting them mixed up so much? But yeah, right where Jenson Button went off earlier. Going to use some curves now down into this chicane. Don't know if we'll be able to make a move down into here. Now that would be an even bigger lunge than on Gutierrez and Maldonado. No, we decide against this being for the final point at the moment, but when all the pit stops shake out, it'll be a lot higher than that as someone else in front comes in. That was the guy who was actually holding up Rosberg and basically pushed him off the track. I do believe that was a Toro Rosso. It was Daniel Ricciardo, in fact, who's just come into the pit lane. We've got the assist now of DRS, going to use some curves, might as well. Someone else coming out of the pit lane now as well. Probably be Räikkönen, but we lunge up the inside now of Rosberg, and we have taken 4th place outright in this race now on lap 9 of 15 after the big mistake from Nico Rosberg in trying to pass Daniel Ricciardo down at the chicane. That is the one disadvantage from the AI. They tried to go for the outside line. Around the outside move down into that chicane. A lot of time it doesn't work and they just end up going off. That is exactly what's happened to Nico Rosberg, and we now find ourselves in 4th place. Rosberg, though, not looking hugely quick as we now go purple through the first sector. They're half a second quicker than we were on the last lap, or than our PB. I still haven't worked that one out yet. But that's quite incredible. Fernando Alonso leading this race again. He's managed to leapfrog Lewis Hamilton in this... Oh, no, sorry, no, 3rd place. I thought he was in the lead. So he's in fact been leapfrogged by Sebastian Vettel. Whether Vettel's also been able to leapfrog Lewis Hamilton is another story, but we're actually really getting away from Nico Rosberg pretty damn easily at the moment, which is surprising me, because I thought, to be quite honest, that Nico Rosberg would just stay with us and try and harangue us down into the chicane, try and make a move with the DRS, but he's not even in the DRS zone, I would say, which is really disappointing for the German. I don't think he is. No, he's not. He's in 1.2 seconds away, and people are going to try and hunt him down. Now, I remember back to Spain. This reminds me of Spain, actually, where Rosberg just suddenly went ridiculously slow. And it's happening again. Look into the chicane. They're so slow through the chicane. Jenson Button's actually managed to get through into 5th place and has now pitted. So Jenson Button has just pitted after, I reckon he's just hit the back of Nico Rosberg, come into the pits and changed his front wing. So that's completely stuffed up Jenson Button's race as Fernando Alonso sets the fastest lap of the race. What is going on with Nico Rosberg? We've got a 4.2 second advantage. Through one chicane, we've managed to extend a gap that much, and now Felipe Massa has made the move on Nico Rosberg. So we have got someone else behind, but Felipe Massa looks equally as slow. I don't know whether he's now hit the back of Nico Rosberg, I'm not entirely sure. But Nico Rosberg, this is working out a treat for us. He's made a mistake and then he's just completely ballsed up everyone else's race for us. Well, now moving on to lap 13, because absolutely nothing happened for us. Although things were happening behind, it wasn't particularly entertaining for myself. And now, as you can see, Sergio Perez is the man who's taken on the gauntlet in trying to catch me in 5th place, and he's extended a huge gap actually back to 6th place, man. I'm not entirely sure who that is, but Perez now hunting us down. We do have the advantage of going over to the rich fuel mixture though, and of course a huge gap behind to boot, because obviously we've set the cautious fuel strategy, so we can just pump that on for like the last 2 laps and we'll be fine. And also tyre wear not looking like an issue at all at the moment either. So on this penultimate lap of the race, and what a race this has turned out to be, almost completely forgot in the context that we were 4th. We made a complete hash though of that corner. That was awful. That was diabolical, but it still hasn't taken away anything from the fact that we are currently in 4th place. I think this would be our 2nd best finish of the season. Correct me if I'm wrong, obviously we won in Montreal, but I don't think we've had another podium anywhere. I know in Monaco I think we finished about 5th, and then in Silverstone we were 7th. And then before that we were sort of down, like, you know, lower end of the points. But still, this is looking really good at the moment. 4th place on the penultimate lap of this race. In front, Sebastian Vettel has now lost out to Fernando Alonso. He's down into 3rd place. Alonso had set the fastest lap of the race just before we moved on to lap 13. So it's no surprise that the Ferrari man has been able to get through and up into 2nd place. But I'm guessing Lewis Hamilton is still winning this race and will probably win this race to extend his lead in the championship. If things stay as they are, we will really cement our place in 6th place in the championship. And of course, with all that going on behind, with Felipe Massa seemingly disappearing as well, he being the man in front of us, this could seriously benefit us in the championship. There's been no mention of Kimi Raikkonen. We basically just lost Button, Raikkonen and Massa from this race. I have absolutely no idea where they've gone. We're just flicking over to the rich fuel mixture just to make sure that we hold on now in front of Sergio Perez, who is kind of charging us down. There was a big gap before, but we've been relatively conservative, just trying to save tyre wear, which, as you can see to the right-hand side, has not worked a jot, because we've got a shed load of tyre wear, which is also contributing to the problem, and contributing to the fact that Sergio Perez is actually catching us hand over fist. It was about a 10-second gap back when Rosberg was holding everyone up, although it has been about 6 laps, so we've been losing, you know, a lot of time per lap, but it's still, you know, we should still hold on a 1.3 second lead back to Sergio Perez, so he might have DRS down into the chicane, but given how cautious the AI are and the fact that we will have our defensive lines and the such like to defend into the chicane, we should be okay realistically on this final lap of the race. It's been such a good race. It's been a mixed up race because, as I was saying a minute ago, we basically have lost Raikkonen, Massa and Button from this race, and Rosberg as well. So 4 really main protagonists in terms of guys you would expect to get in the points. So it's going to be a really messed up top 10, as now Perez is actually all over us and actually closer than I thought he would, as Lewis Hamilton wins the race to extend his championship lead even. We're using all our curves though to defend from Sergio Perez. He'll have to go to the outside line. We defend on the inside. He's got no sort of overlap though, so we should be fine. And we do in fact defend into the chicane for 4th place, so we should be fine as long as we don't make a complete hash at the final corner. We should be okay. It was good saving all the curves for the final straight. Didn't really require anywhere else, but we will now cross the line to come 4th here in the Nurburgring. This wasn't actually a race I was very confident for, because Germany's a track I'm okay at, but I wouldn't say it's as good as, you know, Belgium or Monaco or Montreal, but certainly a great race there. Let's have a look though at the final standings. Lewis Hamilton does win, getting the full 25 points in front of Alonso, Vettel, myself in 4th, not expecting that at all, but picking up 12 really solid points for Williams. 5th there going to Sergio Perez. He hunted me down nobly right at the end. I thought I was going to get past, to be fair, going down that back straight. 6th place going to Nico Hülkenberg, and 7th for Adrian Sutil in the Force India. Good job there. Daniel Ricciardo picks up Toro Rosso's first points all season, getting 4 of them in fact for 8th place in front of fellow countryman Mark Webber there down in 9th in the Red Bull. And 10th place is that Jean-Eric Vergne. There's 2 Toro Rossos in the points. They haven't got any points all season, and then suddenly they arrive in Germany and get 5. Then we've got Paul Di Resta in 11th in front of Roman Grosjean, who also went missing. Then Button, Massa, Raikkonen and Rosberg from 13th to 16th. What a 5 that is in the middle of the pack. Gutierrez ends up finishing way down in 21st. I'm not entirely sure how that happened. with Pastor Maldonado down in 17th as well, dropping a spot from where he started. But this is what it does to the championship. Hamilton now leads the championship by 31 points over Sebastian Vettel. Alonso moves into a commanding third after both Rosberg and Massa don't pick up any points. We close in on those guys now in the battle for fourth. We maintain 6th place now in front of Sergio Perez after Raikkonen doesn't pick up any points either. And we've got Webber, Button, Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg's teammate Gutierrez in front of Roman Grosjean way down the championship down in 13th. Then Sutil, Ricciardo, Maldonado and Verne. And Di Resta still yet to pick up any points, but of course Ricciardo now passing my teammate Maldonado in the championship with that 4th place, and Verne also registering a point here after that 10th place too. In the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes now lead by 48 points in front of Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren there in 4th. We're bearing down on them a little bit, but it's still about 30 points up to McLaren. We're still in front of Lotus incredibly there in 5th place. Lotus down in 6th in front of Sauber, Force India and Toro Rosso closing in on Force India after that good result there as well. They're on 5 with Force India on 7. But I'm hoping you've enjoyed this episode of the Williams Road to Recovery, picking up a great 4th place here, a solid 12 points here in the Nurburgring. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode, and comment about enjoying it if you enjoyed it that much. Don't forget to leave me comments about what I should do in the future, what videos you would like to see, whether they're F1 based or FIFA based, whatever the case. Have a good day though, enjoy yourselves guys, and goodbye as my guy celebrates an awesome 4th place here in the Nurburgring.